All right. Great morning. And I'm so glad to be live. So I will say that we are on Vision and Vibes podcast. And I'll go ahead and give an introduction. It's your girl Kay, Self Care Shero, the vibe. And today, I want to say welcome to the C-Suite Roundtable Deliberation. It is with great respect and honor that you have decided to be here and present today. You are experts and professionals in your own right and industry, and I am pleased to have your assistance in my preparation for Miss Tennessee and Miss America. If you received an email invite, you are aware that this discussion will be aired on Vision and Vibes podcast, a podcast produced by me. This podcast exists so that we can better understand economics, creativity, purpose, and self-care more clearly. For those who may be not aware who I am, my mission or reputation, please allow me to introduce myself. I am Kay Johnson, speaker, leader, and visionary of Inspired Bosses, which was established in 2020. My vision is to see 1 million rise. That's right, 1 million rise of the present generations that exist on Earth today as in confidence. And as a Miss Tennessee candidate, number 15 to be exact, the goal of today is to highlight perspectives and issues around my social impact initiative. My social impact initiative is Self-Care Revolution, Workplace Mental and Emotional Wellness. Our goal today is to uncover, inform, and share pressing issues that we as Tennesseans and Americans are experiencing on a daily basis as business owners, workers, and leaders of communities as well. So the flow of our discussion will be our today's topic, which I just introduced, some stats and facts around this topic. We'll open up some general conversation. I'll give you my stance, and then we'll have questions. We'll just talk about current news or current information that's on our hearts and share, and then we'll have closing remarks, and we'll be gone. We'll say bye out, okay? So today we have a guest today is Tammie Polk, who is an author, a coach, a visionary, a leader, and a mom and a wife. And we're gonna give Tammie, she also, let me say this, first of all, she coached me to help me produce my very first literature, which is Beginner's Vibe Guide, the Millennial Success Map. She was so easy to work with. She was just amazing. I freaking love Tammie with all of my heart. She's an author of 136 or maybe 150 now. No, just kidding. She has so many books under her belt. And so we're going to give her a chance to introduce herself, briefly describe your mission, what you do, who you are, and your passion. And then we'll get into the conversation. And let me bring you on screen.
Good morning, Kay, and thank you so much for this opportunity. It's funny that she laughed when she got to 150. I have been blessed to pen, publish, and record 151. So I have crossed over the 150 mark since September of 2015. Kay is right. I am a speaker. I annoy Amazon for a living, as if you can't tell. I am a married homeschooling mother of 3 girls. My girls are 18, 14, and 9, going on 27 and a half. That 9-year-old is a thug. I tell anybody that. But my goal and my joy is to help ambitious, creative, visionary moms who want to leave a legacy, but for some reason are sleeping on and doubting themselves. I help them to see what is possible. And one thing that Kay knows about me, I'm not one for excuses in any way, shape, or form. As I tell people, I have done all that I have through financial difficulties, physical difficulties, and just anything the world has decided to throw at me. I spent the year of 2020 being treated for multiple sclerosis, which I turned out not to have. And just here now, here recently, dealing with a car accident, being wheelchair bound for 2.5 months, getting out of the wheelchair and having gallbladder removal surgery. So there's not too much you can that you can tell me about not achieving your goals in the face of adversity. So I'm all about showing people what is possible, and I'm glad to be here with my dear friend today.
Wow. Oh my goodness. See, I didn't know the latest news, you all. Oh my goodness. But the thing is, let me just say this before we get into this conversation, this discussion, this deliberation. It is so great to be alive in the same century, the same decade as Tammie Polk, you all. Like, we don't want to just breeze over the fact that she just said all of that adversity, and she still has managed to birth 151 books plus the ones of her authors that she's coached as well. So it's really probably over 151 if that's what she counts, or if she doesn't count. But anyway, no, it's really, really, really awesome to be alive and share space, share knowledge, share joy, share struggle sometime with Tammie Polk, because I just want to recognize that, because a lot of the times throughout life, we just forget the gift of someone's presence and existence. And I want to honor and respect and show publicly that I am so glad to know you and glad to be alive in the same century as you, are just a blazing woman that is just awesome. And this trail that she's making and creating is just wonderful, 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 wonderful. All right, y'all. So let's get into this discussion about the self-care revolution. Okay? So that is my social impact initiative that I'm carrying with me. But as we know, or if you don't know, my company, Inspired Bosses, is a health and wellness company that educates and advocates for self-care and confidence in the classrooms, which is through curriculum, the school system, and in businesses, meaning small and large. And so I am a C-suite person myself, and I love to talk to other C-suite professionals who have the authority, who have the power to ignite change for our future, starting with businesses, starting with that system that's been created. And I'm really looking to eradicate the system with self-care. And when I think about self-care, I think about the whole being, meaning mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, your career, your environment, your physical, everything about the human. That's what I mean about self-care. And later on, I'll be releasing more things when it comes to self-care so that more people can understand exactly how I'm leading in this industry in this way. So first, let's start off with CASEL. According to CASEL, SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals. Feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. So that was a lot. And let me go ahead and break down what CASEL and SEL stands for. So SEL stands for social emotional learning. Okay. And CASEL is the work that's been done by a group of people, by one leading person, but it stands for Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. So they're helping make evidence-based social and emotional learning an integral part of education from preschool through high school. And I am taking even a step further, and let's incorporate it into our businesses. Okay. So with that being said, my stance is that I believe America, it needs to invest more into self-care benefits, starting with educational standards and curriculum with work life and business in mind. This includes less extended work hours, self-care PTO days, wellness day breaks, multiple hires for a certain job, renewing performance evaluation metrics, increased wages, rest, nutrition, sleep, access to on-site therapists, massage therapists as well, on-site work playgrounds, and hybrid remote work opportunities. Social emotional learning being taught within the curriculum is also as a requirement with those soft skills that can be learned. So that's where I stand. That's a little bit about CASEL and SEL to bring this conversation in for you, Tammie, because this is the first time that we're having this conversation. But I'm excited, and I'm going to kind of do this discussion a little bit different than I have in the past. I want to hear what you have to say now, being that you're a homeschool teacher, mom, and being that you work with moms as well. Just by hearing and digesting what I just said, is there something that you would like to say at this point in the conversation?
Well, first of all, I want to address this from the standpoint as a former educator also. I was in the classroom for 10 years. And I remember that stress in the classroom of only having, so much time, and it being hard to take those personal days or take those wellness days because we don't want to lose any ground, with our students. And that's one of the biggest fears that teachers have. But I definitely agree with the research findings, and here's why. When I was a substitute teacher for, oh gosh, one of the counties in Mississippi, close to DeSoto County, Mississippi, I was placed in a school that was number one in the district. Highest test scores, low teacher turnover, everything. And I was curious to know what the reason behind that was. And talking about self-care and productivity, I found out that one, the students from kindergarten to third grade, as this school was, were all still allowed to nap, which to me is very important. Also, the teachers were allowed a 45-minute nap break every day. And I didn't think that as a substitute teacher that they were going to allow me to do that. But that school had a team of floaters whose purpose was to go into these classrooms and relieve these teachers to take those 45-minute nap breaks. Now, I thought I was going to lose my job But when I explained to my staffing supervisor how that school ran, she said, "Girl, go get that 45 if it's going to make you feel better and that's a policy of the school, then have at it." The work playgrounds is definitely important. One thing that I loved about the second school that I worked for was that the playground equipment was spaced in a way that the walking paths simulated a walking track. So all of the teachers who would be out on the playground, we knew that 8 laps around the playground equal to a mile. So if you do that as many times as you can in 30 minutes, you're good to go. You're good to go. And I was one who always got out with the kids. I love being on the swings. For me, there's just something completely freeing about being on a swing because you don't have a care in the world. It's just you, your leg strength, and the wind. That is it. That is it. But all of that is important because when you don't take that time and give teachers that time, it's a trickle down effect. I have always believed that educators should be the highest earning people on the planet
Yes, 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 yes. Come on.
because that is where every other profession and position came from. It started with a teacher, whether it was a homeschooling mom like me or a teacher in a brick and mortar Zoom, StreamYard, whichever you use. I think that it is a crime and a sin for teachers to be so underpaid.
And over.
Even if and yes, and overworked. One of the schools here just extended their student day to 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, for a teacher, whether he or she has a family or not, what do they have? Especially when you're still only getting a 30-minute lunch break, which technically is illegal. So it's important that it starts with the teachers first. Because when the teacher can take care of himself or herself, they can take care of those babies.
I love that, Tammie. I think that I was so excited about this conversation because I knew you would bring a fresh and perspective to me that I haven't heard or haven't even researched in my preparation for Miss Tennessee and Miss America. And going back to the 45-minute sleep break nap at the first school and then the playground, it makes me understand that it's achievable, but it also challenges me to say, okay, now how do we make this practical and understanding for people who are in those places and spaces to actually create the change within the policies, within the structure, within the business model, whatever it is. But to even take that playground, that worksite playground further, I know we get it. We create a solve a problem, and we have that solution. Then there's another problem that comes around it. So I could foresee, like with the playground scenario. Okay, so then the students need to be supervised. That's right. I understand that. And so how do we incorporate the teachers and the students having recess together, or, like just bringing that full circle. And I think also what will happen when we have the on-site work playgrounds, not just at the schools, but everywhere, from finance to tech to retail to all these different places. Like, I just started working another job. This is like my side thing I do in the evening. And what pisses me off a little bit, and I'm not like bad mouthing, is that the managers or the system is created to tell me when I need to take a break, but my body knows when I need to take a break so that I can be refreshed to come back out and serve customers so that we can meet our quota or whatever the case may be. But if we had like on-site work playgrounds, that maybe even if it was just going in the room and playing with Play-Doh, or being able to draw, or being able to write for some time. Yes, you get those 30-minute, 15-minute breaks, but is it truly really enough when you're on the shift for 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours? Right? So I'm just excited that you brought this conversation to that point, because it's like, okay, I feel like now I know, logically speaking, it's more achievable than I thought before. And then extending a day, like I just can't. I just don't like that. I'm not in favor of that, because my mom, she's an educator, and I'm always, especially now that I'm older and I'm having my own life, it's like, oh my gosh, how did my mom go in the morning by 7 a.m., teach a myriad of students who have a myriad of different challenges and circumstances, and try to get them on the same page and get these test scores and get these quiz scores and meet the standards of the school, and then come back home and then teach her own children and then find rest. And how does she do this for 20 plus years? Like, you have got to be some type of super bionic person, but truthfully, we're not. We're just human. We do have some supernatural abilities when you think spiritually, but physically, rest and sleep and and nutrition, those are integral parts of being a human. If we do not sleep, if we do not rest, it affects our mental capacities. It affects the way that our minds can learn and adapt and communicate. And overall, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because I wanted people to understand that when our spirit, when our mind, when our physical selves, when our finances, when our environment is not set optimally, it does affect our work, our productivity, our communication style. If I'm grieving a loss of a child, if I'm grieving a loss of a friend, if I'm grieving a loss of anything, if I'm not able to bury my loved one, like in 2020, we weren't able to because we had to stay back because of this virus that was going on. If I'm grieving that, how can you expect me not to take any days off and then still work optimally and produce the results that you want me to produce? And so that brings me to some of the businesses, and I really love, and after this, if you could tell me, we don't have to say them online, but after this conversation, if you could like message me those schools so that I can like research them and see if they're still doing that or what it was like. I'd love to like do more research about that. But what I want to do now is bring some attention to you on some of the companies that I found that are really, some of them are making radical change. So one of my favorite is Spotify, which is a listening platform for like podcasts and music and everything like that. So Spotify launched a wellness week, and that was for their employees to take a week off to focus on their health and their well-being. I thought that was just amazing. What companies give you a week off to just not even like, it's not a sick day, it's not like a personal day. It's like, no, we want you to focus on you and your health and your well-being, whatever that may look like. You could do whatever you want, even if it's just sitting around the house the entire week. You know what I mean? Rest is rejuvenating. And one of the things that I think, I was listening to a podcast one day, Tammie, and they were talking about human hibernation. and how, bears, they hibernate, they gather whatever they need, and then they go and rest for these amount of months or whatever, then they come back out ready and prepared. And honestly, our winter months are most of the time hard for a lot of people, a lot of things going on. You got the holidays, but a lot of people, by study and research, are not in this holiday spirit, are not in the fa la 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 joyful spirit. I don't know if it's because all year long they've been running themselves crazy trying to meet quotas and demands and standards from businesses and companies and all these other things, and they have family themselves and trying to cook and they're trying to live well and be well. And then by the end of, I know for me, by October, honey, I need a break. I don't want to continue to make my brain go, 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 go. And that's what I love about you too. I see you post on Facebook, hey, I'm not going to be available for this amount of weeks or this amount of days. And that to me is a sign of like hibernation. I'm focusing on what I want to focus on as a human, whether that's my family, whether it's myself, giving myself a rest from the demands of people, expectations, and standards. And so I think Spotify has done really well by like making way in there. Another one that's really making radical change is a company called WeWork. They have wellness programs like yoga and sound baths. And they have unlimited sick days that they give and annual retreats. And then you have other companies like Squarespace that give daily gourmet lunches, yoga sessions, and chair massages. Microsoft has an $800 Stay Fit reimbursement program to cover the cost of gym memberships and fitness programs. GoDaddy has a health benefits package that covers from acupuncture to fertility treatments. Kind, the bar, if you go to like Kroger, Walmart, there's a bar called Kind. You probably heard of it before. They have a flexible paid time off, and they also have a hardship fund that offers families in the time of hardship, they can access this money, this fund. They also have healthy snacks for their employees. Reebok has free fitness classes any time of the day. And did I miss any? MindBody is another company that offers 20 vacation days per year, $65 wellness vouchers, and 21 on-site wellness classes, 5 on-site massage therapists, on-site acupuncture, and 1 monthly outdoor activity. Even Showtime Network offers 6 weeks fully paid parental leave, subsidized backup pay for care of children and elders, and discounted gym memberships. So there are companies that are doing some things, and I just believe in that. I believe in that, and I can't wait to even have conversations with them to see how they integrated it in their business model. But you hearing that, what are your thoughts?
I think that companies are really starting to get the fact that they have human beings working for them. I know that one of the schools that I was working at implemented the same type of benefits package for the teachers that included gym membership, massages, and things like that. They would even do challenges among the staff. Who lost the most weight, or who is has higher energy, and things like that. So they would make it really, really fun. And then also Federal Express is another company that has an extensive wellness program. And I can say that as a wife of an employee. I probably should have called their name, but that's neither here nor there. They have wellness hotlines. They have a reimbursement program for preventive care. They have access to nutritionists, therapists, dietitians. And because I get a postcard from them usually about twice a quarter, of just the different programs that are available, not just to the employees, but to their families, because they understand that, as families of people in the shipping industry, period, you know, I mean, our, husbands and wives and kids, look, we keep the world spinning. It's like that parent who was like, "This is my degree too." Listen, families of people in the shipping industry, like, "Hey, we help y'all too." So yes, so having those programs is it's important, and it's necessary for it to go past the standard days, or the standard time. It doesn't have to be limited to a certain day, or a prescribed week. Just to give an example, I saw a system of charter schools. They actually don't celebrate teacher appreciation in May. They do it in February. And I thought it was the most oddball thing that I had ever seen. But they were like, we do it in February because everybody's just coming back, everybody's readjusting. So let's get our teachers in a good headspace to finish the rest of the school year strong.
I love that. I love that.
So I think these companies are starting to get the fact that as human beings, we are pushed, pressed, stretched, and challenged in so many different ways. And I want to go back to something that you said um, about how sometimes our solutions can create another problem. If, for instance, being on the playground, and I can only speak to the school where I was, but this playground was was small. So even with teachers walking around, what we would do to make sure that our kids were still being supervised was that all the teachers did not walk in the same direction. So some of us were walking north to south, some were walking south to north. So there was never too much of a child seeing a teacher's back. So that was one thing. That was one thing that we did, because that was a concern of the school as well. But I think that doing those types of things, it reduces your turnover. It reduces performance issues. It reduces disciplinary issues, because there is nothing better than to have a staff of people who enjoy coming to work because they know that you care about them. One of the books that I penned is called "Have You Created a Monster?" And it talks about how leaders create bad employees, bad teammates, and bad colleagues by the policies and procedures and expectations that they have in place, forgetting that people are human. And I know one manager of a company came under fire because they made this one week where most of the men who worked for him had an anniversary around the same time. And even though he had 15, 16 people in this particular department, and it was just these four guys who had their anniversaries right around the same time, he made that a blackout week. So now these men who have been working for the company, some for 10, 20, 30 years, were having to go home and tell their wives of probably just as many years, if not more, that they were no longer able to be off for their anniversary to celebrate their union. And it really broke the morale of the entire department because that wasn't important to them. And then after making that policy, this manager takes his wife and goes to Mexico for 3.5 weeks. So
Wow.
can,
Okay.
can we say double standard much?
Oh my goodness.
So it destroys the morale of your people when you don't understand and you don't realize that they're human. Because if you're truly worried about your bottom line, you better check how you treat your people.
Say that. Say that.
If you wonder why your profits are dropping, or quotas not being met, or production is down, ask yourself, how do you treat the people who work for you? Because just like they say now, people don't leave bad companies, they leave bad bosses. So when you have people who know that you genuinely care about their well-being, you will never have anything to worry about. I want to talk about one more thing, and then I'm going to let you get back to your topic. But one of the nonprofits that I started working for, my first professional job while I was in college, it was a nationwide corporate policy that your birthday was a paid holiday. So when you went to fill out the absence request form, birthday was one of the boxes that was on the form. And I worked for them for 4.5 years. So for 4.5 years, I got paid to not work on my birthday, and it did not count against the vacation that I received from the organization. It was separate.
Wow.
So it wasn't a vacation day. So that's one of the reasons why now I shut down for the entire month of August. Don't call me, don't text me, don't email me. I don't exist from the last Thursday in July until the day after Labor Day.
Mm.
That is my time to revise, revamp, rest, change things, look at how things went, and to celebrate, really.
Mm. That's important.
So it's definitely important.
Like you talking about, you're not getting any feedback, are you? Your mic went on mute. I was hoping you weren't getting any feedback. Sometimes I get getting feedback when I take my mic off mute and the speaker is speaking.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay.
Are you getting feedback?
I'm not now, but I think we're frozen.
Okay, well, I see you. So we're gonna people push on.
Okay.
All right, but I think you made a valid point, especially at the end when you said something about celebrating. I think when you're able to celebrate yourself, then your standard of being celebrated within the means of work and things like that also goes up as well. And then it's just crazy. We were having the same conversation around the same thing. Well, we didn't have the same conversation, but some other things are brought out. And last week we talked about how one of the leaders felt like that more managers, more leadership positions could have more conversations with the people who are doing the productivity of who are making things happen, not just who are overseeing and making, the commands and things like that, but the people who are actually taking the commands and doing what the command is, about having more conversations and like seeing that they are people. So one of the things that happened within that company that I'm hearing that you're saying is that in his policies, he don't want you to take no break and then celebrate your reunion, your life and whatever. But oh, I'm gonna do it, and that's just to me, it's you're too distant. You're way too distant, and being someone who is building a company and going to be hiring people and things like that, and I have people around me that hire, and they're young. I have this one conversation with a young male who's built a beautiful company digitally, and he says that he checks on his employees, his partners, mental health and well-being, and when they ask him, like, say, hey, I need a day or whatever, he's willingly giving it to them because he knows they're a human. And if he appreciates them, if he celebrates them, if he allows them to be human, the thing that he wants to get done for his company, the money that he wants to make, the impact that he wants to make is gonna be a byproduct of him caring for those people. So I really love that you gave that example, because I can use that as ammo. I'm going to use it as ammo. But I want to shift the conversation a little bit here too, because I work with students who have intellectual disabilities, mental illnesses, or developmental disabilities. And I think we can say this not for just those students, but for a lot of people, that we have social, emotional, and behavioral challenges. And that's the other reason why I want to bring SEL, social emotional learning, and workplace mental emotional wellness to the forefront, because a lot of the times, just think about it. Let's just be honest. If we went to school, we went to public school, private school, whatever the case may be. I'm not sure too much about private school. I didn't attend, but the ingraining that happens in public school is when you first get in kindergarten, preschool, you walk down this blue line, you put your finger over your mouth, you have a line leader, a door holder, you start understanding, you start getting placed in positions, you start getting placed on the right side of the hallway, and when you're coming back somewhere, you're on the left side, which is how our road infrastructure is here in Tennessee and in all of America. I haven't seen anybody drive on the opposite side. We're not overseas. And so from those days beginning, they are ingraining this idea that this is how society works, as well as this is how it works in the schools. And so that's another reason why I'm tackling the curriculum and the standard of the school systems, because I know it starts there. And like you said, with teachers being the most underpaid, it's a little bit disrespectful in my eyes. Like, how do you pay the people who are basically birthing all these other professions the least? Like, I just don't get it. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But to the conversation of social, emotional, and behavioral challenges that people with intellectual disabilities have, but also people have, I want to provide this story. It's a short story. It's not long at all. But this says that from NCLD.org, it says social, emotional, behavioral challenges. When schools fail to provide enough support for students, the social, emotional, and behavioral challenges that often come along with learning and attention issues can lead to serious consequences. These include social isolation, disproportionate disciplinary rates, and increased likelihood of skipping school, dropping out, and becoming involved with the criminal justice system. Here's a personal perspective of the story I wanted to share. When the teacher would ask me, Lena, read this, or if I saw a word on a paper that I didn't know, I would make some type of big joke or be rude to the teacher. I got suspended a lot. I would act this way to take the pressure off of myself. No one ever knew that I was really hurting. I dropped out at 15. Lena McKnight, college student and youth advocate in New York City. It goes on to say, and that's where I want to start, and I'm going to get your feedback. Students with learning and attention issues often experience feelings of failure, lack of acceptance among their peers, and high levels of bullying, which can increase the risk of misbehavior and absenteeism. Negative emotions can exacerbate academic struggles. And school climate can also be a significant factor. When students don't feel a sense of safety or belonging, they are less likely to attend school and more likely to engage in negative behavior. Now, this is not, I know this one is specifically school related, but just think about that in the workplace too. When you're not feeling a sense of safety and security, if you don't feel like your employer or your managers care about you, they just want you to do the work, they just want to treat you like a robot, it contributes to your negative perspective, your negative perceptions, and maybe even the chatter that you have amongst other employees is negative, and then it creates a toxic culture. So students are in toxic cultures at schools. Employees are in toxic cultures at work. Not all, but majority, because those are some of the most complaints that you see. If you look up on Google right now, what are employees complaining about? You're gonna see abusive managers, abusive leaders, or whatever the case may be. So with that in mind, what do you have to say now, Tammie?
Well, again, I can speak to this from two different sides, as an educator and as a parent of a child with intellectual disabilities. One of the things that I have seen is that these kids are often placed in places where the adults around them know that they cannot be helped in the way that they need to be. And sometimes I've seen where parents are told that, and they become angry because that is really where they want their child to be, not understanding that they are really crippling them. And that's when they start to get in trouble, because the systems or the programs or the processes that they need are not in place there. And instead of taking the time to find those things, granted, at times they can be expensive, that I do know. But at the end of the day, it's down to the choice of, do you want to deal with having to leave work, losing your job, or not being able to work because you've got to be called to the school every 15 minutes? Or taking that plunge and saying, I am going to do what is necessary to have my child in a place where I know that the programs, products, and services of this entity, because it doesn't have to be, school related, as you said, can help them. One of the reasons why I ended up homeschooling my child with autistic tendencies is because I knew that the schools that I was zoned for had just lost their funding for special needs education and special needs programs. I also knew that even the top entity here for developmental disabilities would also not be of a help to her. just because of taking her there, having her screened, identifying the issues, to have someone in one of the top facilities in this nation to tell me, I'm going to write this report, but your daughter is getting low scores that she doesn't deserve because we don't have the adequate assessments to test her full knowledge. I knew that trying to continue to work with them was going to be a detriment to my child, and my child's pediatrician agreed. So now let's take this into the workplace. There are some adults who have never been exposed to different. And because they have never been exposed to different, it stresses them out to have someone who has differing abilities because they have not been taught or counseled as to how to deal with them. And even some of those who have, they treat it as an obligation instead of seeing it as an opportunity to learn and to grow alongside this person. So that's kind of where my head and heart are on this particular leg of the topic.
Yeah, I agree. When you don't have experience or been exposed to something like that, it can be stressful, and that's why the ADA Act and the IDEA Act, all of those exist because most of the time those vulnerable communities, that those students who are going through high school, that are in special education, that have IEPs and 504 plans, when they're ready to go to work, they're dismissed. When they're ready to live independently, they're dismissed. And so many programs exist, and I'm excited to be working in the industry that I do, and working with these students because I get to prepare them um, for the workplace and for life and for independent living. And we get to talk about, believing in yourself, advocating for yourself, workplace readiness training, and job exploration. What jobs are out there, and what are the skills you need? What are, all of those things, money management, and kind of giving them a place to say, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. All people want to be able to do things independently, have a quality life, and be able to support themselves at some degree. And so, regardless of it all, like, they should be able to work. And if there's something that is not understood for them, like, they should still have the opportunity to work and to be, and have someone have the patience. And maybe they need to be, somebody needs to come in. I don't know. There is always when you solve a problem, there's always another problem created. But that's why we exist. That's why people exist, because there's a problem that just irritates you, annoys you, that you want to see changed. And then there's going to be another problem. Like, we create a job so people can support themselves, but then you have problems on the job, right? And whatever. So there's always going to be a problem, another problem, and another problem, and another problem. But that's the beauty of other generations existing, other generations being born, so that we can continue to just evolve in our quality of life. So I want to say that this conversation has been amazing. Amazing. You've brought so much to my mind that I didn't know, and that I'm so glad I do know now. And the last question I'll kind of ask you is, like, not. I always try to get an opinion just based on experience and stuff like that. Like, why are these changes needed? Um, and I know there's pushback to like SEL. Like some conservative people think that we're trying to indoctrinate students and that we are uh, pushing ourselves on student privacy, and students won't be able to have privacy of their personal lives or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, like there are books out there in the curriculum that you could call maybe saying indoctrinating, that don't share the whole truth about certain parts of history and all these different things and whatever. But as a experienced teacher, an experienced homeschool teacher, a mom, and a person that also help moms create things that they don't feel like sometimes they can do. Why are these changes needed when it comes to the self-care revolution?
It's needed because people are tired. Plain and simple. People are tired, and one of the things that they are tired of is feeling like they are stuck, will always be stuck, and that there is nothing that they can do, because as much as they want something to change, it's not going to, because there is somebody in a glass office somewhere who says that your paycheck should be enough for you to do what they are asking you to do. But what they are starting to figure out is it doesn't work that way. Because now you're looking at the fact of I'm constantly disciplining this person, or I'm, always having to send them home, and or things like that, or he or she is always stressed out, or it seems like, they always have so much going on. And you have to, as I said before, look past your bottom line. Because if you don't have people who are operating in, as you said before, holistic wellness, physical, mental, emotional, financial, and spiritual wellness, your company is going to continue to lack. And then another point that just came to me about why these programs are necessary, and it is that automation is not the answer to everything. And I'm gonna leave that right there. But as far as the students, it's not so much that it's a violation of privacy, or we're trying to indoctrinate. Most of the kids that are walking into any classroom, it is the safest place for them, physically, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes spiritually. There are times when coming to school is the only time those babies are around somebody who cares about them, who does not yell at them, who does not hit them, who does not disregard them, who doesn't tell them that they are a mistake. This may be the only person around who they know has a job, doesn't do drugs, isn't sleeping around, isn't running around. and things like that, because we know, especially within our community, where these kids are coming from and what they're going home to. So focusing on their social emotional learning is important, because when a child shuts down, that's when they do something stupid, and it will most likely destroy their lives. So the more that we pour into them, the more that we mentor and provide them with positive role models, the more that we show them that the glitz and glam that they are presented is not real life. And we prepare them and we instill morals and values in them to help them when those days get hard. It helps. And I'll end with this. One of my mentors was talking to a young lady who felt like she was, just ready to take on the world. She was ready, to move out and move on and get her own place and everything. And she was talking about how, she was going to have, the Disney princess life, you know. And my mentor looks at this young lady and says, I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to living a life as a princess, it's going to be more like you're Tiana from The Princess and the Frog. It is going to take hard work to get out there, stay out there, make a name for yourself and make your mark on the world. And she said, as a young lady just sat there and just looked at her. But if you think about it, it's true. Nothing worth having is going to be easy. And even though our babies know that, we have to show them and instill in them that preparing for that life and preparing to be able to do the hard work starts right there in that classroom. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, Tammie, it's always, like I said in the beginning, a pleasure to just, hear your voice and be alive in the same century as you. You bring so much knowledge and understanding and wisdom and truth to what you say. And I'm just so glad that you've had the opportunity to help me prepare for Miss Tennessee and Miss America. And as you were just saying that, think about a question. I think about a statement that somebody made yesterday, and then we're done here. Um, I was met someone at a career day where we were speaking to some people or speaking to students, and I came in with my crown, not my crown on, but my sash on. This time I didn't wear the crown, but seeing that person, connecting with that person, and then now having a follow up conversation after we connected initially, that person said, "I'm not gonna lie, I just want to be truthful. I underestimated you. I don't follow pageants. I don't follow scholarship competitions. I don't follow any of that. And all I ever thought about those women was that they are just focused and on the outer beauty. It's all about outer beauty, and they're just shallow, basically." And I was like, I didn't take it negatively. I didn't respond negatively. I was like, I love that, because I'm able to just break all of that down and tell you what it's really about. Now, there are some that are just focused on beauty, and I don't participate in those because me, I like to do work. I'm a community-minded person. I'm a work ethic type of person that puts a lot of strong work ethic in what I do. And my purpose is to leave a mark for this generation and the generations that are alive today. And so I can't help but to not be shallow and not focus on just outer beauty. although I am beautiful. And that's what the person was saying. They were like, "You beautiful, you're," and that's all that I thought that you were about. And so I just was so excited to just break down that barrier and say, no, this is not what it's just about. When it comes to Miss Tennessee, when it comes to Miss America, and all of the pageant scholarships that I've been a part of, is offered a scholarship, and that's helped me pay for my education. And then it's helped me be able to be a great speaker, interview well. It's helped me be confident in my physical appearance, because I've not always been confident in it. And this time, taking the stage with this amount of hair, with this organization particularly, is going to be something that's really, really special, and that's going to really speak volume, because I'm the only person that looks like this, black or white or Asian or Indian or Arabic, whatever it is. I'm the only person that looks like I do and is representing African American women in this way on this platform within this organization. So I take it seriously. I still take care of myself, but I just was so excited to like break that barrier down for that person. Now that person's like, okay, now how can I support you? Like, I'm so like, what can I do for you? And so that's just a beautiful thing about having these different conversations with different people, because it allows you all to see, bust some myths up, but it allows you all to see that this is more than just playtime. It's just more than just beauty, which beauty is important. But I've enjoyed the journey, and I know that once I'm crowned Miss Tennessee and I go to Miss America, I can spread this conversation that we're having. I can spread it so much further, and give so much more attention to it, because it needs that attention. So I thank you for being here today and sharing your presence and your knowledge with us on Vision and Vibes podcast. Any last words? And then if not, we just gonna vibe out.
Well, I'll sign out in my classic way. God bless, Godspeed, in all that you do. Keep charging, eat the cookie, handle business, but more importantly, take care of yourself.
All right, Vision and Vibe fam, we are out. Vibe out. Thank you.